In the summer of 1977, the first F-15 Eagles arrived at the American military base in Bigburg, Germany. These were primarily intended to be the first line of defense against what were then the most feared interceptors in the world, the MiG-25's Foxbat. The latter had been terrifying all of Europe for almost a decade with their supposed superiority over NATO's fighters. It was an irrational fear, as NATO had no proof of their actual capabilities. However, this fear was enough to begin the development of the ultimate air superiority fighter in the 60s, which could challenge the high-speed ones, Foxbat, the F-15 Eagles. Since their 1972 debut, they have dominated the world's skies for nearly 50 years. And even though the Foxbats are no longer a threat, the United States still flies. The F-15 Eagles. Wherever air supremacy is needed, the F-15 Eagle is a very old supremacy fighter. Due to updates to the F-15EX Eagle II model, it is expected to dominate the skies until 2050. So the F-15 is almost 50 years old and is expected to reach 80 years of service. In its 50 years of service, the F-15s have seen a lot of more modern houses come and go. But a very scandalous case is that of the F-22 Raptor. It was introduced in 2005 to fill the same role as the F-15 Eagle. When it was introduced, it was thought that 700 of these would be manufactured by 2018. However, its production stopped in 2013. With a total of 193 units, of which only 150 are conditioned for combat. All these units are still operational and in service to this day, but a few years ago it was announced that these units will be gradually retired until 2030, where it is expected that other more cutting-edge developments will replace these modern air supremacy aircraft. But why does the United States retire an extremely modern and capable fighter like the Raptors, and prefers to primarily use the F-15 for air supremacy? Does that mean in some way that the F-22 Raptor is a bad fighter? Actually, the F-22 is a unique combat machine of its kind and one of the most capable today, if not the best. However, it fell victim to something that I call low-cost modern warfare. From the beginning, in armed conflicts, armies have sought to strike a balance between good equipment for their soldiers and maintaining a low military budget. If you were a general, wouldn't it be in your best interest to provide your men with the best possible technology so that they have a better chance of survival and, of course, of winning in combat? However, this entails a resource cost that rises with the army's size and the conflict's length. For example, whenever we think of infantry in the Middle Ages, we think of knights in sturdy plate armor. However, these were really rare. The plates, like everything related to blacksmithing, were really laborious works and only within the reach of the wealthiest. Therefore, more likely, the soldiers in combat wore gambesons. The gambeson was an armor made of many layers of fabric and leather that provided an effective protection against arrows shot by longbows. Later, in the late stages of the Middle Ages, these would be complemented with chainmail. Therefore, even though the virtually impregnable plate armor was the most technologically advanced and the best for your soldiers, they were so expensive that it was rare to see a full suit of plate armor in combat. This also occurs in modern warfare, but more extensively. We can see it in recent conflicts like the one in Ukraine, where the Russians primarily use tanks. They are modernized versions of the T-72 or the T-80. Even, it is also common to see more outdated tanks like the T-64-62. Despite Russia having access to the highly advanced T-14 Armata and T-90 tanks, this remains the case. The reason for not using modern tanks, in addition to other minor reasons, is simple. The T-80 tanks and their older counterparts are very cheap. They are the equivalent to the gambeson of the Middle Ages, while the T-14 Armata are the equivalent to plate armor. Both do the job, but one is much cheaper than the other. The same goes for the F-22 Raptor and the F-15 Eagle, but on a really disproportionate scale. While the difference between the T-80 and an Armata is just $4.5 million, the difference between an F-22 Raptor and an upgraded F-15 Eagle is really staggering. The upgraded F-15s are estimated to cost around $52 million each, whereas the F-22 Raptors have a total acquisition cost of $356 million per unit. So with what you buy an F-22 Raptor, you can buy 7 upgraded F-15s. Costs are also reflected per flight hour. A flight hour of an F-22 costs about $85,000, while the F-15s only spend $33,000 per flight hour. So, like the gambeson and plate armor, both do the job, but one costs much less than the other. Although it sounds less scandalous, really, the production cost of an F-22 Raptor is just $150 million. However, the cost of $356 trillion is calculated based on the billions of dollars the United States invested in the development of the F-22. This cost, known as total acquisition cost, is commonly used for aircraft with limited production volume. However, even taking into account only the production cost of the F-22, these still remain very expensive. For example, the unit cost of an F-35 Lightning is around $80 million. So with what you buy an F-22, you can buy two F-35 without any problems. And of course, getting a versatile aircraft that can more than fulfill the functions of the F-22, as well as ground attack and stealth bombing, even being able to fly vertically. This same reasoning was reached by the American High Command in the 2010 years, definitively stopping the production of the F-22s. In 2013, to prioritize the production of the versatile F-35 Lightning fighters that by 2024 have already exceeded 1,000 units produced. It is projected that this figure will reach 2,443 by 2040. Many experts claim that the F-22 was really taken out of service because it was too successful, as America's enemies, such as Russia, do not have a fighter capable of facing it. In Russia, the repeated delays in the production of the Su-57 mean that effectively they do not have a rival for the F-22 Raptor. However, this is nothing more than a pretty funny excuse to justify the failure of the F-22. When an army has said, well, now we have the most powerful definitive weapon in the world, we have a lot of advantage, we should stop using it to give our enemies a chance. This sounds a bit silly. Really, the F-22 is one of those typical cases of American defense programs that went overboard with the budget, which are very numerous. An example of these is the case of the Rockwell B-1 Lancer, which was an unparalleled bomber, very fast and effective. But these cost $283 million per unit, and it cost $180,000 to fly it per hour. All of this without considering the billions of dollars that its development cost, which obviously led to nothing. Only 104 B-1 Lancers were built, and all of them are out of service. This is a case similar to the F-22 Raptor, only that even the F-22 is more severe in terms of losses. It is a real shame, as the F-22 is a truly capable fighter and one of the best fighters on the planet, if not the best. But it's useless to have 4 soldiers in plate armor while your entire army is naked in combat.